And we are joined now by Steve Schmidt, Scripps News political analyst and founder of the Warning podcast and newsletter. Good morning to you, Steve. So if RFK Jr. does meet CNN's qualifications, what kind of an impact is he going to have on the debate?
Nobody knows, and that's the impact. Conventional wisdom has been that RFK takes votes from Biden, but there is evidence in a substantial number of polls that suggest, in fact, that he narrowly hurts Donald Trump. So the impact of Robert Kennedy in the race is unknown. I think it will be difficult for him to meet the debate threshold to be in. Obviously, if he were on that stage going into it, we know that about 65% of the country says we don't want either choice. And that would just tell us that from a current perspective, that's going to buoy Robert Kennedy or any third-party challenger who was standing on a stage with two people that the majority say we don't like that choice. Now, if the debate is a binary debate, meaning Trump and Biden, and it goes off the rails, that will give some energy to Robert Kennedy's cause as it deepens over the course of the summer.
AP reports it like this. Kennedy has built a loyal following among people disaffected by American institutions, including the government, corporations, and the media, an ideologically eclectic group that will have an unpredictable impact on the election. Biden and Trump both fear that Kennedy will draw voters who might otherwise vote for them. That's how they put it, which is so interesting to me. But whether it's RFK Jr. or whether it's the Libertarian candidate, we had him on the show a few days ago, very interesting platform. If we're in a moment now where the country doesn't want this rematch, doesn't like either, and we can debate some of the false equivalence inherent in that, but if a third party can't emerge strongly now, when can it in this country, if ever?
Well, the signs point to a couple of factors that show the collapse of the two parties. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party are reviled institutions in this country, regardless of where you sit on the partisan divide. There is a collapse of trust in major institutions. All over the country, the fastest growing party is independents, or in some states, decline to states. They don't affiliate with either party. Will there be an independent candidate for president if we keep on this trajectory? Will the system break? Of course it will. There are 50 different types of choice for ketchup, but only two political parties. It won't hold forever, particularly if the numbers continue on in the trajectory that they are. When we talk about the subject at hand, which is the election, both campaigns probably need to dust off their 1948 handbook. In 1948, Harry Truman had a problem. He had a segregationist Democrat running on his right, and he had a progressive running on his left. Three Democrats in the race against the Republican Thomas Dewey, and we remember that famous newspaper of Harry Truman standing on back of the presidential rail car 1, to Ferdinand Magellan, where it says Dewey defeats Truman with a big smile on his face. So in the end, the parties in their establishments don't get a vote on who meets the requirements to run for office or not. So if Robert Kennedy's on the ballot, both campaigns are going to have to figure out how to deal with him in what's going to be a very, very close election, coming down to a small number of precincts, small number of counties, small number of states.
Bottom line, do you see RFK's candidacy doing anything more than just making a dent in this race, or could he actually peel away a lot of voters from Trump and Biden?
Well, I think he can peel away a lot of voters. He's sitting there right now at that 15% threshold, hovering. He's been as high as 25% in some polls. You have a race where the American people are engaging in it fairly late. That's a symptom of the disaffection. So as we get into the fall, particularly if people don't like what they see in this debate from both of them, which is the most likely outcome from the debate, he will get a boost. There's about 150 days to go. So Bobby Kennedy gets into a position where he's 25, 30% of the polls. That's entirely possible. It's going to have an enormous impact in the race.
And what's your sense, though, Steve? I mean, whom does RFK hurt and help the most, or is it literally just too weird an election cycle to try and decipher that?
I've written about this. I am cutting against the conventional wisdom. I think he hurts Trump more than Biden. I think the conventional wisdom of the Biden White House, the National Democrats are wrong on this. At the end of the day, both campaigns should look at this with some fatalism, which is, well, there's nothing we can do about his candidacy. And the number one piece of advice I've given candidates and chief executives across my career is, most people, when they drown, it doesn't happen because they can't swim. They drown because they panic. And most people in the Democratic Party are in a lather of panic over Robert Kennedy when the evidence suggests that he will hurt Donald Trump. And panic kills, particularly in a presidential campaign. So that's how I look at it. Interesting, because I mean, you think Trump has all the enthusiasm. His base of voters they're passionate. They're loyal no matter what. You think that he would peel off more from Biden because people are like, people are more anti-Trump than pro-Biden. It seems like Biden doesn't get the room worked up the way that Trump does. So your theory's interesting that you think it hurts Trump more, considering that Biden supports seems more tepid. What those voters share in common is grievance. That Robert Kennedy voter, that Trump voter is aggrieved at the core, and they believe there is a swirling mutuality of organizations and institutions that have their boot on their neck, right? And so that side of life, that viewpoint about life, you have two candidates who share it to some degree, and you have a candidate, Joe Biden, that on the days where he talks about the future, talks about it through an optimistic prism, not unraveling or ending an interlinked series of conspiracies. So you have to look where the candidates are geographically on the football field. Who is on what side of the 50, and where is that third candidate? Is Bobby Kennedy more like Trump, or is he more like Joe Biden? What are his voters like at this point? Are they more like Trump voters, or are they more like Biden voters? Draws from both, but more from Trump right now.
Scripps News political analyst Steve Schmidt, always appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
You bet. Good morning.
All right, and just into us literally minutes ago, we've learned that the president's son, Hunter Biden, will not testify in his federal gun trial. We'll have updates from court still ahead.
Plus, meteorologist Scott Withers is here as well, all the way in Orlando. Scotty.
Yeah, Jay, we've made our way into the swamp here at the Orlando Science Center. You can see we got some gators in here. Coming up, we're going to have the weather for them and for you. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Morning Rush. You will miss out.
Steve Schmidt's The Warning looks to help all Americans orient themselves to the currents that are shaping our daily lives as well as our nation's future. So subscribe to The Warning with Steve Schmidt wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube and Substack.